Hey there, Jeff Lerner here, and in this video, we're going to be talking about one of the biggest things that I see impacting young entrepreneurs, which is getting your spouse on board. And a lot of times it is a spouse, somebody you're actually married to, but sometimes it's not even a spouse, it's just someone in your life who you just feel like it would be so much easier to go out and pursue your dream if so-and-so was on board with you. It trips people up in two ways. It trips people up because, if they don't have the support, it kind of feels like they're fighting a fight, day to day, just trying to do what they feel like they need to do. Sometimes they just don't even try because they feel like until they get the support, they can't even go after what they want to do. So it's not even that they're fighting the fight, they're just avoiding it altogether. Either way, it's stopping people short of their dreams, so I want to talk about it. Okay, so like I said, this is one of the biggest things that I see impacting young entrepreneurs. I get a lot of people messaging me about this. I'm not only known for doing okay as an entrepreneur, doing pretty well, but also I have a supremely supportive spouse who is very visible and very publicly supportive and has been for a long time, and who I very publicly give a ton of credit to as not even credit for what I've been able to do. It's really sharing and believing that it's what we've been able to do, because I mean, frankly, from experience, I've lived both sides of it, where when you don't have a supportive spouse or a key person in your life, it feels like they're either against you or they just don't support what you're trying to do with your life. It's so hard to muster the energy, because here's the thing, even when you have a supportive spouse, it's still so hard. It's hard. The work we do is hard. Like the world, this massive monolithic force called the world or culture or society or whatever, gives us this path, right? Like work hard, get good grades, go to school, get a job, have to change jobs a bunch of times nowadays because jobs ain't what they used to be, rack up a bunch of student debt, chip away at the student debt over decades and decades, get a couple percentage points raises every year, hopefully not have too long a period of time where you're laid off or where you're out of work, and then it's hard to re-enter. But we go through this, do this for decade after decade after decade after decade, and there's this support cushion that's being paid into, that's government benefits in the US, it's Social Security, and when you get to 65 or maybe 70, you'll be able to retire, take the benefits, and ride out in the sunset. Oh wait, you're living too long, we're running short on medical funds, and so we might have to do some more work and go back, be a greeter at Walmart, and like that's it, right? That's the handbook that we're all given, and we read through the handbook and we go, well, this has some flaws in it. This isn't like a perfect script. You say, yeah, but that's what everybody does, and it's just the way it is. It's the one that you're given, so it's the one you're going to need to do. That's the world we're given. That's the book we're given. And when we decide, I'm going to go a different way, they go, okay, give me the book back. And you go, well, is there a new book? No, there's no new book. Now you're on your own. You got to figure it out. That's hard. Like, at least before we had a book, even if it was an imperfect book, at least we had it. And then we go, well, I'm going to figure this out on my own because I don't really like that script, and it sounds like it's got some holes in it. And they say, okay, that's great. Well, you're on your own. Go watch videos, go follow Gary V on Snapchat, and try to piece it together and figure it out, right? That's hard. That's all the battle you need to fight. I think that's a noble battle, by the way. For me, it's a battle I had to fight. The script was never going to work for me. But then to lump on top of that you got somebody trying to fight against you, saying, well, that's not how my dad did it. That's not, I want you to just live out of the book that you were given. Why do you have to go try to figure out your own book? I mean, to have to fight that fight too, that's just craziness. So what I wanted to shoot this video about is to just share essentially how I've won that battle, so to speak. I say won that battle, meaning I've gotten my wife on board where I don't have to fight that battle. And I know because previously I had a relationship where I didn't have that situation. And so, okay, so as we've been talking about, I have this incredibly supportive wife who is totally on board. Babe, I'm literally shooting a video. She just pulled up to bring me Chick-fil-A grilled nuggets, amazing, healthy, wants to keep my energy up, so I keep doing the good work. And anyway, we're shooting a video about how to get your spouse on board with what your crazy husband's or wife is up to. And I'm gonna have them watch the the interview from our Green Valley Ranch event, so you don't have to give a big spiel, but I thought just because while I'm shooting this video, you literally pulled up to support me with nourishment and sustenance so I could do my work, that you should at least pop in and say hi. So just like, come here, just lean in. That's the camera right there.
Oh, hi.
This is the amazing woman that believes in me and supports me.
Okay. Love you.
Thank you. Love you. She really is amazing. And that was 100% unscripted and unprompted. But anyway, that said, there's an interview, like you heard me tell her, there's an interview that we did. We've done this a couple times at different business conferences. But we did an interview at an event in Las Vegas at a place called Green Valley Ranch, where we actually got interviewed basically about this dynamic, sort of how she came around to my wild and crazy vision for our life together. You know, and we had kids, we have kids. She had kids before she met me, so it wasn't just her. It was like, I need security for my kids, and we had a lot of stuff that we had to work through, and she shares about it, and it's amazing, and as you can see, I'm really blessed. But let's talk about how we got it to that point. So I'm gonna cut to the interview and let that take it from here, and I know you're gonna love it.
You know, we've talked a lot about the four primary issues, the objections that people face, and that is time, money, spouse, and fear. Right? So I kind of want to address these and ask your permission to kind of ask some kind of difficult questions around this and get your candid feedback on that and how your perspective has aligned with your life before and with Jeff during that time. So I wanted to actually start with the spouse question. So, you know, I was curious what your definition of the role of a spouse is in your life, as in what does it mean to have a spouse that happens to be an entrepreneur?
You want the present definition of what a spouse should be, or do you want me to tell you what I thought it should be before all of this?
Yeah, maybe both. What was it, and then what is it now? How has that changed?
Before, I would say it was somebody that, you know, you raise kids with, they go to work in the morning, 8 or 9, they're home around 5 or 6, and you have dinner together, and you do kids' homework together, and on the weekends you play, and you get back to your routine on Monday.
Kind of the traditional view.
The traditional view.
Yeah. Did you ever have that in your life?
No. I had it when I was a kid. I had it.
Yeah.
But not when I had kids. I didn't have it.
So even believing that, when you met Jeff, did you believe that you would have that?
Yes. Well, that was my hope.
Yeah. Right.
Wow. I felt like there was something underneath what she just said. That was my hope.
Get a job, punk. So, you know, as things evolved for you, was there a moment that you actually realized maybe this isn't going to be what our life is like, and how did that feel for you?
There were many moments that I realized that was not what our life was going to be like. And I think we kind of, I had a really hard time. I think you have a picture in your mind of how things are going to be, and why they're going to be that way is because you want to be happy. You want your kids to have structure and stability and safety. And if things are the way you're picturing them, then that will all come true. But Jeff had other ideas, and it was definitely hard to kind of bring those worlds together.
So when you initially met him, we heard the story, it was in Vegas here, just kind of down the street a little ways. And when you met him, did you believe that he was going to be able to fulfill your needs, or was it unknown to you?
I believed that I was going to be able to get him to do what I wanted him to do. Even if it took some hard work, like that eventually I would get my way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So tell me, when were you either surprised that wasn't going to happen, or maybe confirmed that there was going to be some balance in between? Like how that felt?
I think within the first probably year and a half that we were together, and I realized that he wasn't going to be who he needed to be able to thrive if I kept pressuring him to stay within my little bubble idea I had created of the happy, structured family.
Yeah, so I want to move into that a bit, and obviously we dive into some sensitive topics here. But I wanted to talk about kind of like the lack of time, right? So an entrepreneur works 25 hours a day, very likely, and you might not have agreed to that. You might not have thought that that was going to be how things would be. So I'm curious how the lack of time, what did it do to your relationship as you guys were starting to get integrated? Or maybe, what was the moment like when you realized, man, I'm not going to have as much time with him as I thought I might have?
Well, Jeff was on completely different hours than the rest of the family. Like, we'd get up in the morning and, get kids to school, whatever, and Jeff would have been up most of the night before, working, building his dream, and so, there was no, our cute little dinners together or playing with the kids at 5 o'clock at night. We were on completely opposite schedules, and it just became more and more clear that it wasn't going to be anything traditional at all. But we started to find ways to kind of schedule things to be able to make them work. And we both kind of started, doing what we needed to do to meet in the middle, and him be able to do what he wanted to do, and me still have some of those things that I wanted for the kids and the family.
Yeah, you said kind of a key word. You said he was building his dream. And I want to dive into that. It's interesting you chose that specific phrase. Especially at the beginning, did you feel like him building his dream was the ultimate detraction from your relationship because he was doing his thing, and maybe at the beginning it wasn't your thing?
Yes, definitely. I think that that's part of what was so hard and has been hard, is that I think I felt a little bit left out of what he was doing. And I think that it's easier when it is more of a traditional, a traditional job and schedule, because then with the predictability of that and the dinners together and the weekends together and everything else, I still would feel like, we were doing this life together, but it felt really separate for a long time. So
yeah, and so I'm curious, and obviously you're being super honest. So do you feel like Jeff, especially at the beginning? I mean, I know him now. I didn't know him back then, so I think I know how things would go now. But I'm curious, at least initially, do you feel like he actually made the effort to include you in his plans?
I feel like he made the effort to the best of what his ability was at that time.
Do you feel like maybe if with his just constant pursuit of knowing, like, I have to get there, I also don't want to leave my family behind, do you feel like he might have, in his mind said, look, I don't even want them to be exposed to my potential failure or my losses or something that didn't work, so I'm going to save them and harbor them separately and just kind of be on an island for a moment? Do you feel like he
was literally, it's funny you say on an island, because he was locked in a cement room in our basement for, I don't even know, months and months, a couple years probably, while we were kind of all up doing our thing. And it was like, this isn't what I had pictured. This isn't at all what I had pictured. And I think the biggest thing is you're just afraid. You're afraid you're not going to get the time together. You're afraid that the kids aren't going to get their time with him, with their parent. And yeah, it's really scary. It's unknown.
Yeah.
It's not what you see on, commercials and, movie endings and things like that.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people even in this room are probably looking at you and you both and saying, wow, it's the epitome of success. But it wasn't always that comfortable, and it comes often with like a background of difficulty. And so, this is not comfortable for you for us to even discuss here, but we understand that, the biological father of your children had passed away
Yes.
several years before you met Jeff. And I'm curious, how that event affected your ability to either cope with things or how you feared things in life in general.
So that had made me so hypersensitive to having safety for my kids, so that, I was going to do whatever I could do to make it so that they didn't get hurt again. And it was very sudden, and we didn't, obviously nobody knew that was going to happen. And so my best way for me to cope with that for my kids was to give them this really safe, predictable life. And so I had created this really nice little bubble for them where we had our routine, and we had, it didn't matter that we couldn't go do all of these amazing things. Like we had structure and predictability, and that's a big one for me. And so it was really crazy, really, really crazy to end up falling in love with somebody that is definitely the most unpredictable person I've ever met.
Why was I so excited to do this?
That's so good. Yeah, so, in that time, I can imagine what you might have been feeling. Probably one of two things. One is that my life is probably pretty chaotic without a father figure around for my kids. I need to stay sheltered in that moment and protect them, not let any outside influences jack with what we have going on. Versus, here's this strapping young man who's could maybe do it, but I don't know. So how did you tussle between that predictability and safety versus like, maybe I need to give this a shot?
Well, the fact that they had no father figure was all the more reason that it was so hard that once, Jeff had fallen in love with my kids and me and was willing to come and take all this on, but then it's like, okay, here we all are, but my idea of how this was going to be was completely opposite of what the reality of the situation was. So, it wasn't pretty. It really wasn't. Like, we had a lot of problems in our marriage because of, our different ideas of what it should be like. And
Whatever it is, I can take it.
it wasn't one thing in particular. There's so many I was trying to choose.
That's right down the list. That's an interesting point because maybe a lot of you are struggling with the reason for not doing something, right? The reason to not do something is pretty palpable, and you've felt that way too. But there was a decision point that your reason not to became your reason to do something.
Right, and it was little things, I think, that you start realizing along the way, like, okay, it does suck that we don't get our dinners together every night at 5 or 6 o'clock. But it's really cool that during the school year, when no other dads are able to go take time off, that we can take off if we want to. We don't have to wait for, their vacation to come. And maybe we would go, 2 weeks without really seeing Jeff because he was so busy working, but then we'd be able to get a really good weekend of solid quality time. My mom got pancreatic cancer and had to come and live with us so that we could take care of her while she was passing away. And Jeff was able to sit with her and I at chemo every week when she had chemo. He was able to help me take care of her in her final days. And so it kind of was a better deal, in so many ways that made it worth it. And you just find your new normals. And I don't know, they ended up being really cool ones.
You know, you have suffered certainly tremendous loss, and maybe a lot of you have as well. So, really, I think it's important that we know whether loss has caused you to be fearful of making new decisions like this, or emboldened by them.
Loss has made it. I think it's made it definitely easier, because it makes you realize, like, life is short. Our life together is short. I want him to do the things that he loves doing, that he thrives in, that make him happy, that make him feel like he's progressing. And when one of you gets that, the other one tends to get it also. Mm-hmm. So, as sad as it is to see people go, there are really amazing things that come from loss. So
kind of sharpens you a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
To prepare for things that you might not have been able to handle before.
Yes.
You would say.
And you see really amazing things in the people the person you're married to, and your kids, and when you're going through hard times like that.
Let's talk about your kids a bit, and I'll just state it bluntly. Do you feel like they have suffered at the hand of entrepreneurship?
I think my perception in the beginning was that they were suffering because of what we've been talking about, because of the time, mainly, because of the unpredictability. And it's so funny to look back and think about how I viewed that, because I really did think, like, this really sucks for them. Oh my gosh, I wish they could come home from school, and then we had our couple hours to do what we need to do, and then we sat down as a family and, had our nights together. But the things that my kids have learned, the things that they have gotten to be able to come and experience I wouldn't trade it for anything at this point.
Have you ever had maybe a come to Jesus moment with them that maybe you've never even told Jeff or in any kind of public platform, of one of your kids coming to you and asking, why isn't Dad around? Why
Yes.
isn't he here?
Definitely, especially with our oldest, and it comes in. A couple weeks ago, he said, he asked me, why has Dad been working so much again? Like, when are we going to be able to see him? When am I going to be able to get time with him? And that, of course, makes me feel sad for him. But also, we're to the point now where all I have to do is go back to Jeff and say, Brax is feeling like he hasn't seen you much. And Jeff will figure out a way to, I'll take him to a concert, or he makes an effort to drive him to school, and they listen to music together. And it's all about having the communication to be able to meet everybody's needs.
So who prioritizes that? Is that you suggesting to Jeff that he does that, or does he take that competent initiative to say, I can sense that someone needs some additional attention. I'm going to put my business on hold in a moment of need to address that? Who is responsible for ensuring that happens?
Me. It's me reminding Jeff of, things like that need to happen. And then once he's reminded, he's really quick and awesome at doing them.
I want to move into kind of the money objective, which I'm sure you've seen both sides of the tracks. You've seen certainly the good life now, because there's been some tremendous success, and your family has benefited from that, and all the long hours that he has put in. So I'm sure you feel that. A lot of people in this audience have pushed really hard and done a lot of hours, and maybe have not tasted that success yet, and they're like, what am I even doing? Why am I any different? Can you address that in terms of were the hours worth it? It's like, because you didn't know that. You didn't know whether, was it, maybe more aptly put, was there a moment of fear in your life where I literally didn't know if our bills were going to get paid because of
Yes,
this?
Definitely. When we started Zurli, and we had decided, Jeff had decided.
Hey, honey,
I say we because I'm
business.
trying to be a team, but it was Jeff. Had decided to go, do this next. Great idea. And it was really, really scary. I remember every single day I would text him because he was up trying to, run this office and say, how many sales have we done today? Are we going to be able to pay our power bill? Like, and that was what it was for, I don't know how many months or.
Yeah, I don't want to blab too much. It's so beautiful and wonderful to hear from you. I only want to say one thing to create the context of what you're saying. Even after so much of the journey that you guys have seen, and even after making some, having some real great success, this was after, top 500 home business earners in the world status that she's talking about hoping our light bill gets paid. And the one time I ever had to call my parents and ask for help with a bill was when our power got shut off, when I first started Zurley, after I had left the Millionaire Operating System, which had 50,000 members. So I want to make sure, it's not confused that it was all the real problems were already solved, and they were just figuring out time and family stuff.
Yeah.
So tell me, what has been your strategy with dealing with the unknown of an entrepreneurial spouse?
What has been my strategy?
Is it still evolving, you feel?
It's still evolving, but I think it's hard for me to say what just my strategy is, because we've the way that we've made it work is to do it together. And Jeff has, I think that a lot of the problem, like what I was saying in the beginning, is that I felt so separate from what he was doing. And he has gotten really good at letting me feel like I have some say or some enrollment in some of the decisions that he's making. And also my strategy, a lot of what my strategy is Jeff would focus on one thing that he was going to go make happen. And I learned that if I could get a clear plan B or C or D or all the way to Z out of him, that I felt a lot more safe. I felt more safe, which made me feel like my kids were a lot more, safe and secure.
So Jeff, just real briefly, how have you supported her in that strategy?
It's been a long, slow process. Entrepreneurship, I think sometimes is a euphemism for stubbornness. Which is, I think, and stubbornness is maybe a negative way of saying that you have a unique ability to hold a vision, and defend it against other people's attacks. So it's all in how you look at it. But I was very, very stubborn, but I also said, this is how I know I have to be, or how I thought I had to be in order to be successful. I defined successful entrepreneurship as something you do that you fortify against distractions, attacks, and even in some cases the needs of others, even if you care about them. I have learned that is not so. And it's been a long, slow process. And one of the biggest breakthroughs for me is when our therapist, who I don't want to understate how important it is to get help in working through these kinds of things. We are not ashamed to admit that we have had a lot of help to get to where we're able to balance some pretty intense things in our life together. Our therapist, jokingly but not, thanks us regularly for his 2 motorcycles that we bought him. But one of the biggest things that he ever said that I took note of was, if you want to have influence over another person, allow them to have influence over you. The number one way to have influence over another person is to allow them to have influence over you. It's the law of reciprocity. That if I started to make what initially felt like compromises or sacrifices or concessions to her and even to the kids, that she, you know, it's like me, and, you know, people say, oh, it's got to be 50-50. I'll do my half if you do your half. No, it's 100-100. And that if I just said, I'm going to do every, and it's not natural for me. I'm an only child. I don't naturally consider the needs of other people. But if I can just muster every day something, even if it's a token, to show that I'm thinking about what she needs, I'm thinking about what the kids need, I'm thinking about how to do what I need to do and be true to who I am, but still be maybe even more normal. And I bristle at the term, but maybe I would try it on here and there. That maybe that the law of reciprocity would naturally bring us closer to the center. And that's honestly what's happened. And in my presentation on day one, and on day one, I didn't even know we were going to do this. Like, this was an idea I think we had, maybe that night or yesterday. But when I said the difference in my entrepreneurial success has been family, it's been all the unexpected benefits that come with having to figure this kind of stuff out, like developing empathy and developing a sense that if you're going to slave away to provide for other people, you can't not provide for them in the meantime. Yeah. And we've landed where we are.
That's powerful stuff. With our remaining time here, I do want to get in a couple rapid-fire, tough questions. So I'm curious now, Jackie, have you ever felt, or do you still feel like Jeff is kind of on trial?
Like he's what?
Like he's on trial. He's on like I'm still kind of like, is it really real? Is it?
I definitely.
Like on a test, is this still a test for you?
I definitely did feel that way, yes. But I think that I've talked a lot about how I felt, like I wanted to protect the kids and keep them safe and have predictability and everything else. And because of my love for them, I was operating from a place of needing to keep them safe and happy. And with Jeff, he was always operating from a place of making money. And it was like, okay, why can't you just see my side? And he's like, why can't you just see my side? And we both wanted the exact same thing, but we both needed to do it in different ways. And now I feel like we've met in the middle and are able to, give them everything that I wanted to give them in the first place.
Yeah.
And us. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
So to be clear, I'm not on trial anymore.
Oh yeah, that was the question.
Passed. I passed?
No, he passed. I'm sorry, I got distracted.
You made it. You've arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Lerner has arrived. Yes. He won the game of life. He made it.
I was actually thinking, why do I trust him so much now versus when we first met? And it's because even though, let's be honest, there have been, I don't want to use the word failure, but what other word do you want me to use?
I'm okay with that. I failed forward.
There's been a lot of challenges, but the successes have been so much more. And he's developed a pattern of pulling through and showing me, like, I don't want to say I was wrong because I'm not typically wrong, but
I would never ask you to admit it.
No comments.
But I do wish I would have cut him some more slack in the beginning.
Okay. So that's actually my final question for you, kind of two-part there. What advice would you give to 10 years ago, Jackie? And I'm curious to know, what are you looking forward to in the future? Now that you're at this phase, it's kind of like, wow, this is actually happening. It's kind of cool. So what advice would you have given yourself, knowing what you know now, obviously? Your 10 years ago version of Jackie, and what's the future like for you?
10 years ago?
Yeah, or like when it kind of began.
Oh, okay. I know the advice I would have given myself, and it would have been to try to know and see and feel that Jeff had our best interests at heart also. And that's what I was trying to explain before. It's just because we were showing them and doing them differently, we both want the same end goal. And so I do wish I could have told myself to ease up, not be so hard on him, not try to talk him out of the things that he knew he wanted and needed to do to be happy.
Yeah. So what are you looking forward to in the future now?
It's hard to imagine things really getting better than they are, but I feel like I keep saying that and things keep getting even more amazing. So I'm looking forward to that and doing more of this.
This has been one of my absolute favorite sessions I think we've done here. How cool that is. I know Jeff is going to continue on with this session. Would you guys join me in thanking Jacqueline for being here?
You good?
I'm good.